But in and of itself, very rarely is it a great idea, especially on a one visit. I just saw this house for the first time. It's 2 inches out of level. Here's a repair plan, 15, 20,000, not including plumbing or anything else.
Right.
Very rarely is that a good idea.
Hi, I'm Lindsey Keller with Seven Springs Real Estate. Working real estate in Central Texas, one of the biggest concerns we have with a home is the foundation. That's because our soil here in Central Texas is super expansive and we have crazy big weather events. So when we have long 108-degree drought weather, or when we have these big floods that come in, or basically anything in between, it impacts the soil under our house's foundation, and that can lead to problems. So I recently had a really interesting conversation with Thomas Appelbaum from the Foundation Guru. Foundation Guru is so unique in the industry because they don't make any money off foundation repairs. Thomas's job is just to come in and evaluate your foundation as a neutral third-party outside person, tell you if there's a problem, and help give you some tips on how to maintain your foundation. So I thought he had a lot of really good stuff to say that I wanted to share. I hope you enjoy it.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set my level up inside of the house. After I'm done with that, I'm going to step outside. I'm going to measure the house to scale. It's going to give me a floor plan where I can place my elevations.
Okay.
I'm going to look at the foundation itself, see if I see any significant cracking, right? I'm going to look at the house, see how it's performing on top of that foundation.
Okay.
I'm also going to look at drainage, and I'm going to look at soil conditions. And then when I'm done outside, I'm going to come back inside. That's when I'm going to take my elevations. If you have any concerns inside, drywall cracks, tile cracks, sticky doors, we can look at those. And then after I take my elevations and we look at any internal stuff, we'll go over any questions you have, and then we'll send a report within a couple hours. But while I'm measuring, what I'm actually doing is I'm measuring. At the same time, I'm looking for signs of movement on the exterior, right? That's going to show up with caulking separated, sometimes at the top or on the corners where that kind of pulls apart. Mortar cracks in the rock or brick, obviously brick cracks along with that. Any significant cracking that I see on a monolithic patio. So the old wood expansion joints take about between 5 and 8 years to kind of rot away. And once that happens, now moisture's able to get in here into an area that should always be dry. Once our expansion joints go away, if we don't replace them, now after a heavy rain, I'm getting water where it shouldn't be. That's going to cause your sidewalks, driveways, patios to shift, oftentimes cracking. It's one of the things that we always look at, and it's a really good idea that if your old wood expansion joints are gone, go ahead and fill that in so we can try to keep the underneath of these areas dry. What I'm looking at here is I'm doing my measuring and inspection, is I'm looking at how dry the soil is, right? Soil that it has some clay in it, when it gets dry, or it's going to actually separate from the house a little bit. You're also going to see cracking typically. What that shows us is at one point the clay was expanded due to moisture, and now that it shrunk up and it's pulled away, it's telling us that it's thirsty. Some homes perform just fine on dry soil, right? Even dry clay soil. The key to the performance is going to be consistency. We don't want to go from a very dry state to a very wet state. Yeah, towards the street and in your yard, high point there, it's going to want to come this way. The way it was originally kind of set up is it's going to come this way and hit about midway and then wants to boogie to the street, right? So we just want to help it do that. It's consistency. It's not that I always have to water. It's that either you water because you're trying to maintain a yard and your foundation through watering, or you don't water because it can be consistently dry as long as my drainage is set up correctly. So that's why drainage plays a key role. We don't want Mother Nature saying hypersaturated, now it's bone dry. We go, no, after a heavy rain, it all drains away. I either add the moisture back that's needed, or I set my landscape up that I don't need to water. So when I show up to people's homes and they go, wow, and it's the middle of summer, and I get a lot of this, this week, right? Over the past few months, this drywall crack occurred, or the tile crack got bigger. Okay, well, your house is telling you something, right? What's the common denominator about the last few months? Dry as a bone. Well, let's go outside and take a look at what's happening, right? And at that stage, it's still okay to choose to be dry. If we do that, we say the house is going to be like this. I may need to adjust a door, but I'm not going to rely on watering my foundation to actually get it to respond back to a more level condition, which on clay soil happens. We track houses and we've gone in and looked at them in a bone dry summer, found out it was about 2 inches out of level. We prescribed, come in and start watering, right? They wanted to anyway. They had a yard, and they wanted to keep it. We went back about 4 or 5 months later, and it had gone back up about 1.5 inches. Bring it to a healthy condition can correct those levels. That's why it's not a great idea to come in and start prescribing something like piering a house
Right.
based on summer dryness. So a couple of things about elevations, right? Number one, by the time I'm done doing my inspection, before I take my elevations, I will typically know whether the house is performing well or well enough that it does not need piers. We should never let elevations dictate that a house should be re-leveled or added to structurally by trying to add some pier system to it. They automatically sell piers because that's the way the industry is set up, right? It's based on a purely commission-based, typically, salesperson coming out to check the level and sell piers to re-level the house. Broken tile does not mean I need to re-level. Broken tile usually means that my soil got way too dry and my house responded. Now, how you tackle that, if I'm selling piers, I need to add additional support. Your house is failing. No, most of the time not. We want to start with what are the obvious signs that have caused this, right? We want to take care of the cause. We don't want to jump to adding these piers. But in and of itself, very rarely is it a great idea, especially on a one visit. I just saw this house for the first time. It's 2 inches out of level. Here's a repair plan, 15, 20,000, not including plumbing or anything else.
Right.
Very rarely is that a good idea. Getting multiple bids from repair companies, it's a better idea. But what we get a lot of times is, wow, I've contacted 3 repair companies and they all came up with 3 different repair plans. It's a sales game. Once you commit to a repair company and you do that work, if you're not happy with that, or you decide in the future, maybe I need more piers, you need to stay with that repair company, because as soon as another one shows up and adds a pier to that house, typically it voids the warranty on the existing piers. It's to get the foot in the door. If I can fix your problem for 4 or 5 grand, oh yeah, and a lifetime warranty, well, that sounds better than 20,000.
Of course.
But what they oftentimes don't explain is, well, we'll lift that side. The rest of the house moves. We only warrant where we put our piers. It's the only warranty.
Yeah.
My issue is the front door, but the back corner was low. They lifted it. I still have the issue with my front door. When they come out under warranty, it's time to sell more piers.
Right.
Right? So oftentimes these smaller bids are just a kind of a foot in the door. I look at brand new homes, literally paint drying. Homes can start off 1 inch or more out of level.
I've heard that before.
If I use level as a guideline on whether a house should be re-leveled, and I've seen this, you can do a lot of damage because now you're taking a house to a point it's never seen before. Right? And let's say the house starts off 1 inch out of level, it's built on clay, and now I'm in the middle of a super dry summer and I didn't know I was supposed to, or should have maybe maintained this foundation. Now I'm seeing a 2-inch reading, it blows my mind, I've got some drywall cracks, right? But if I try to lift that house to that 2 inches when it's only settled about 1 inch and may recover after it gets hydrated, I've seen them where all of a sudden making that house more level means that the garage now drains backwards because I've taken it to a point where it shouldn't have been, or I've disconnected the driveway from the garage. I tell people, if the house is still structurally sound, meaning my roof's not coming apart, right? My front door's not so jammed up and out of square that it's a safety issue, that my plumbing works. Some of the worst houses I saw last year, 2 of them, were built 5 years prior to me or 6 years prior to me inspecting them. In 20 feet, they were 5 inches out of level. That being out of level caused the bathtubs that are precast to drain in a certain direction, they wouldn't drain.
Oh my gosh.
Now, would re-leveling be a benefit? Yes, because a system doesn't work due to it being out of level.
So $400 for an evaluation. It's totally neutral.
That's right.
You have no skin in the game. You just tell us how it is.
You got it.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah,
you for
right on.
coming. I appreciate it.